The rain hit the old farmhouse windows like angry fists. Inside, Maya stirred the pot of soup on the stove, her hands shaking slightly. She had been married to David for 3 years now, and each year had gotten worse. What started as small arguments had turned into something much darker. Maya used to be different. She remembered laughing with friends, having dreams about opening her own bakery, feeling confident in her own skin. That woman felt like a stranger now. The woman stirring soup in this kitchen was scared, tired, and broken in ways she never thought possible. The farmhouse sat 5 miles outside the small town of Cedar Ridge. David had insisted they move here after their wedding. "We need privacy," he had said. "Just you and me away from everyone else." At first, Maya thought it was romantic. Now she knew the truth. He wanted her isolated, cut off from anyone who might help. David worked at the feed store in town, but he had been drinking more lately. His boss had cut his hours and money was tight. Everything seemed to make him angry these days. If dinner was late, he got angry. If it was too early, he got angry. If Maya spoke too much or not enough or looked at him wrong or didn't look at him at all, there was always something. Tonight felt different, though. Maya could sense it in the way David had slammed the truck door when he came home. She could hear it in his heavy footsteps on the porch. The way he threw his keys on the counter told her everything she needed to know. This was going to be a bad night. "What's this?" David's voice cut through the kitchen like ice. Maya looked up from the stove. "Vegetable soup. I thought maybe something warm would be nice with the rain and all." David walked closer. She could smell alcohol on his breath, but that wasn't unusual anymore. "Vegetable soup. What am I, some kind of rabbit? I work all day and come home to rabbit food?" "I can make something else," Maya said quickly. "There's some chicken in the freezer. You could what? Take another hour to figure out how to cook?" "I'm hungry now, Maya, not in an hour." Maya's heart started beating faster. She recognized the tone in his voice. It was the same tone he used right before things got physical. "I'm sorry, David, I should have thought ahead. You should have thought ahead." David stepped closer. "That's the problem with you. You never think about anything. About me working all day. About me being tired. About me needing a real meal when I get home." "You're right," Maya said, trying to keep her voice calm. "I wasn't thinking. I'm sorry, but sorry wasn't enough anymore. It hadn't been enough for a long time." David grabbed the pot of soup and threw it across the kitchen. The hot liquid splashed everywhere, and the pot crashed against the wall with a loud bang. Maya jumped back, but she wasn't fast enough to avoid the hot soup that splashed on her arm. "Look what you made me do," David said. "Now there's a mess everywhere, and I still don't have anything to eat." Maya stared at the soup dripping down the wall, at the vegetables scattered across the floor. She thought about all the times she had cleaned up messes like this. All the times she had apologized for things that weren't her fault. All the times she had made excuses to the few friends she had left about bruises and cuts. "Clean it up," David said. Maya got down on her hands and knees and started picking up pieces of carrot and potato from the floor. Her arm stung where the hot soup had hit her, but she didn't dare complain. She had learned that complaining only made things worse. As she cleaned, David paced around the kitchen. "You know what your problem is, Maya? You're useless. Completely useless. I don't know why I even married you." Each word hit her like a physical blow. Maya had heard these words so many times that part of her had started to believe them. Maybe she was useless. Maybe she did deserve this. Maybe this was just what marriage was supposed to be like. "Look at me when I'm talking to you," David demanded. Maya looked up from the floor. David's face was red with anger, and his fists were clenched at his sides. She had seen that look before. She knew what came next. "Stand up," he said. Maya slowly got to her feet. Her legs felt weak and her whole body was tense with fear. She tried to make herself smaller, tried to disappear into herself the way she had learned to do. "You think you can just ignore me, make whatever food you want without asking me? Act like you're in charge around here?" "No," Maya whispered. "I don't think that. I can't hear you." "No," she said louder. "I don't think that." "Good, because you're not in charge." "I am. This is my house. You live here because I let you live here. You eat because I work and bring home money. You have clothes because I buy them for you. Without me, you'd have nothing. You'd be nothing." Maya nodded, even though every word made her feel smaller and more broken. David moved closer until he was standing right in front of her. "Say it," he demanded. "Say what?" "Say that you're nothing without me." Maya's throat felt tight. She had said these words before, but tonight something inside her resisted. Maybe it was the rain drumming on the roof, reminding her of the storms she used to love watching from her apartment window before she married David. Maybe it was the memory of the woman she used to be, fighting to surface one more time. "I'm waiting," David said. Maya opened her mouth to say the words, but nothing came out. For just a moment she remembered her old life. She remembered having opinions, making decisions, feeling proud of herself. She remembered what it felt like to not be afraid. That moment of memory was enough to make David explode with rage. The first hit knocked her backward into the kitchen counter. The second one sent her to the floor. After that, Maya stopped counting. She curled up as small as she could and waited for it to stop. When it finally did stop, Maya couldn't move. She lay on the kitchen floor, listening to David's heavy breathing above her. Everything hurt. Her ribs felt like they were on fire and she tasted blood in her mouth. "Look what you made me do," David said again. "This is your fault, Maya, all of it." Maya heard his footsteps walking away. She heard the refrigerator open and close. She heard him pop open a beer and turn on the television in the living room. She lay on the cold kitchen floor for what felt like hours. The rain kept falling outside and thunder rumbled in the distance. Maya tried to move, but her ribs screamed with pain. She tried to call out, but her voice was barely a whisper. As she lay there, something changed inside her. Maybe it was the realization that she might actually die on this kitchen floor. Maybe it was the understanding that if she survived this night, the next time might be worse. Whatever it was, Maya finally admitted the truth she had been avoiding for so long. This was not love. This was not marriage. This was not normal. And somehow she had to find a way out. The storm outside was getting worse, but Maya barely noticed. She was focused on one thought that kept repeating in her mind like a prayer. "I have to survive this. I have to find a way to survive." The storm had been building all evening, and by midnight it was the worst weather Cedar Ridge had seen in months. Lightning lit up the sky every few seconds, followed by thunder that shook the ground. Rain came down so hard it was like someone was dumping buckets of water from the clouds. Cole Williams was driving his old pickup truck down the country road when he saw the first signs of trouble. Steam was coming from under his hood, and the engine was making a sound that definitely wasn't normal. He had been traveling from ranch to ranch looking for work, and this storm had caught him between towns. "Come on, old girl," he said to his truck, patting the dashboard. "Just a little further." But the truck had other plans. About a mile from what looked like a farmhouse, the engine started knocking really bad, and then it just died. Cole managed to coast to the side of the road before everything stopped working completely. He sat in the truck for a minute, listening to the rain hammer on the roof. Cole was used to sleeping in his truck when he had to, but not in weather like this. The wind was so strong it was rocking the vehicle back and forth. Water was starting to leak in around the windows. Cole grabbed his jacket and hat from the passenger seat. He had seen a farmhouse about a mile back down the road. Maybe whoever lived there would let him use their phone to call for help, or at least let him wait out the storm somewhere dry. He stepped out of the truck and was immediately soaked. The rain was ice cold and the wind tried to knock him over. Cole put his head down and started walking toward the farmhouse he had seen. It took him almost 20 minutes to walk that mile. The road was already starting to flood in some places, and he had to be careful not to step in any deep puddles. Lightning kept flashing, giving him quick glimpses of the path ahead. When he finally reached the farmhouse, Cole was relieved to see lights on inside. Someone was home. The house was old but looked well maintained, with a wide front porch and big windows. He could see a truck parked in the driveway. Cole walked up to the front door and knocked hard so he could be heard over the storm. He waited, but nobody came to the door. He knocked again, louder this time. "Hello?" he called out. "I'm sorry to bother you, but my truck broke down in the storm. I just need to use a phone." Still no answer. Cole was starting to think maybe the people inside couldn't hear him over the thunder. He walked around to the side of the house to see if there was another door. That's when he heard something that made him stop in his tracks. Over the sound of the rain and wind, he could hear what sounded like someone in pain. A woman's voice, weak and scared. Cole had been raised to mind his own business, but he had also been raised to help people who needed help. And somebody inside that house definitely needed help. He tried the back door and found it unlocked. Cole hesitated for a moment. He knew he shouldn't just walk into someone's house, but that sound he had heard didn't sit right with him. "Hello?" he called out as he opened the door. "I heard someone calling for help." "Is everything okay?" The back door led into a kitchen, and what Cole saw there made his blood run cold. A woman was lying on the floor, curled up in a ball. There was food scattered everywhere, and it looked like someone had thrown a pot against the wall. But what really got Cole's attention was the man standing over the woman. He was holding a beer bottle and swaying slightly, like he'd been drinking for a while. When he saw Cole, his face twisted with anger. "Who the hell are you?" the man demanded. "This is private property. Get out." Cole looked down at the woman on the floor. She was conscious but barely moving. He could see blood on her face, and the way she was holding her side told him she was badly hurt. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Cole asked, ignoring the angry man completely. "I said get out," the man shouted. "This is none of your business." Cole stood up slowly. He was tall and broad-shouldered from years of ranch work, and when he stood to his full height, he was an imposing figure. But he kept his voice calm and steady. "I think it became my business when I heard someone crying for help," Cole said. "The lady looks like she needs medical attention." "The lady is my wife and she's fine," the man said. "She just fell down. Now get out of my house before I call the sheriff." Cole looked at the scene around him. The thrown pot, the scattered food, the woman's injuries. This wasn't an accident. He had seen enough bar fights and ranch disputes to know what violence looked like. "You know what?" Cole said. "Why don't we call the sheriff?" "That's a great idea. I'm sure he'd be real interested in how your wife fell down so hard it knocked food all over the kitchen." The man's face went white. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about," Cole said. "And I know that if you take one step toward that woman while I'm here, you're going to have a real big problem with me." For a moment, the two men stared at each other. The husband was clearly drunk and angry, but he wasn't stupid. Cole was younger, bigger, and stone-sober, and there was something in Cole's eyes that said he wasn't backing down. "This is my house," the husband said again, but his voice had lost some of its edge. "That's fine," Cole said. "It's your house. But that woman is a human being, and nobody deserves to be treated like this." Cole knelt down next to the woman on the floor. She flinched when he got close, and he could see the fear in her eyes. Not just fear of her husband, but fear of him too. Fear of any man getting near her. "Hey," Cole said softly. "My name is Cole. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help." The woman looked up at him with wide, scared eyes. She seemed surprised by his gentle tone, like she hadn't heard anyone speak kindly to her in a very long time. "Can you sit up?" Cole asked. "Take your time. There's no rush." The husband started to say something, but Cole held up one hand without looking away from the woman. "I'd be real quiet right now if I were you," he said. Something in his tone made the husband shut his mouth and take a step back. Cole turned his attention back to the woman. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya," she whispered. "Okay, Maya. I know you don't know me and I know you're scared, but I promise you, I'm not here to hurt anybody. I just want to make sure you're okay." Maya tried to sit up, and Cole could see her wince in pain. Her ribs were definitely hurt, maybe broken. She had a cut on her lip and bruises forming on her face. "Maya," Cole said quietly, "do you want to go to the hospital?" Before she could answer, her husband spoke up. "She doesn't need a hospital. She's fine." Cole looked over his shoulder at the man. "I wasn't talking to you." He turned back to Maya. "It's your choice," he said. "Whatever you want to do." Maya looked from Cole to her husband and back to Cole. Cole could see her thinking, trying to decide if she could trust him. He waited patiently, letting her take all the time she needed. Outside, the storm continued to rage. But inside that kitchen, everything had changed. For the first time in years, Maya had someone on her side. Someone who was willing to stand between her and the man who had been hurting her. It was the beginning of everything. Maya stared up at the stranger kneeling beside her. In 3 years of marriage, no one had ever asked her what she wanted. No one had ever given her a choice about anything. The simple question, "What do you want to do?" felt foreign to her ears. Cole waited patiently while Maya tried to process what was happening. His presence was completely different from what she was used to. When David got close to her, the air felt heavy and dangerous. But this man, this Cole, seemed to bring calmness with him. Even in the middle of this terrible situation, she felt safer than she had in months. Maya started to speak, then stopped. She looked toward David, who was glaring at both of them from across the kitchen. Even injured and scared, her first instinct was still to think about how David would react to whatever she said. Cole noticed where she was looking. Without taking his eyes off Maya, he spoke to David. "Why don't you go sit in the living room? Give us some space here." "This is my kitchen," David said. "I don't have to go anywhere." Cole finally looked at David, and there was something in his expression that made David take a step backward. "You're right," Cole said. "You don't have to do anything, but I think it would be better for everyone if you did." David wanted to argue, but something about Cole's calm confidence made him think twice. He was used to people being afraid of him. His wife was afraid of him. The few friends they had left were uncomfortable around him. But this stranger wasn't afraid at all, and David didn't know how to handle that. After a moment, David stomped out of the kitchen. They could hear him crash onto the couch and turn the television up loud. Cole turned back to Maya. "That's better," he said softly. "Now let's see how badly you're hurt." Maya tried to sit up straighter, but the movement sent sharp pain through her ribs. She couldn't hold back a small cry of pain. "Easy," Cole said. "Don't try to move too fast. Can you tell me where it hurts the most?" Maya pointed to her side. "My ribs," she whispered. "And my shoulder," Cole nodded. "Okay, I'm going to help you get to the couch, but I need to touch your arm to support you. Is that all right?" The fact that he asked permission before touching her almost made Maya cry. When was the last time someone had asked her permission for anything? She nodded. Cole slipped one arm very gently around her back and helped her slowly get to her feet. He moved carefully, letting her set the pace. When she was standing, he could see how much pain she was in just from the way she was breathing. "Small steps," he said. "We'll take our time." They made their way slowly from the kitchen to the living room. David was sprawled on his recliner, beer in hand, pretending to watch TV. He didn't look at them as they passed. Cole helped Maya sit down on the couch on the far side of the room, as far from David as possible. Once she was settled, he looked around the room. It was clean, but felt cold somehow. There were no pictures on the walls, no personal touches that would make it feel like a home. "Maya," Cole said, sitting down carefully on the edge of the coffee table so he was facing her. "I'm not a doctor, but I've seen my share of injuries. I think you might have some broken ribs. And that cut on your lip should probably be looked at." Maya touched her lip gingerly. She had forgotten about that injury among all the others. "The thing is," Cole continued, "the storm is pretty bad out there. The roads might be flooded. But if you want to go to the hospital, we'll figure out a way to get you there." Maya looked confused. "We?" "Well, I can't very well leave you here like this," Cole said. "My truck broke down about a mile up the road, but maybe your husband's truck is working." David snorted from his chair. "My truck ain't going anywhere in this weather. And she doesn't need a hospital anyway. She's always been dramatic about every little thing." Cole's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice calm. "Maya, what do you think? How do you feel?" Maya had never been asked to evaluate her own pain before. David always told her whether she was hurt or not, whether she needed help or not. Having to think about it for herself was surprisingly difficult. "It hurts a lot," she admitted quietly. "More than usual." The words "more than usual" hung in the air. Cole understood immediately what that meant. This wasn't the first time Maya had been hurt. It wasn't even close to the first time. "Okay," Cole said. "Hospital it is. Storm or no storm." "I told you my truck won't make it," David said. "Then we'll wait until the storm passes," Cole replied. "But Maya needs medical attention and she's going to get it." Cole stood up and walked to the kitchen. Maya could hear him moving around and she wondered what he was doing. A few minutes later, he came back with a clean dish towel and a glass of water. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward her face. Maya nodded. Cole sat back down and very gently began cleaning the blood from her lip and face. His touch was so light that it barely hurt at all. Maya found herself staring at him, trying to understand how someone could be so gentle. "There," Cole said when he was finished. "That's a little better." He handed her the glass of water. "Small sips," he said. "It might hurt to swallow at first." Maya took a tiny sip of water. It did hurt, but it also felt good to have something cold on her throat. She realized she was incredibly thirsty. "When did you last eat?" Cole asked. Maya had to think about it. She had been making soup for dinner, but that had ended up on the floor. Before that, she couldn't remember. "I don't know," she said. Cole frowned. "You don't know?" "I made soup for dinner, but—" Maya gestured vaguely toward the kitchen. Cole looked toward David, who was still pretending to watch TV. "What about lunch? Breakfast?" Maya shook her head. "David doesn't like me to eat much during the day. He says I need to save the food for when he gets home." Cole's hands clenched into fists, but he kept his voice gentle when he spoke to Maya. "That's not right," he said. "You know that's not right, don't you?" Maya looked down at her hands. Part of her did know it wasn't right, but she had been told for so long that she was selfish, that she ate too much, that she cost too much money. It was hard to know what was true anymore. "I'm going to make you something to eat," Cole said. "Something simple that won't upset your stomach." "You don't have to do that," Maya said quickly. "I'm fine." When someone says they're fine while they're bleeding and can't remember their last meal, they're usually not fine, Cole said with a small smile. "Just let me take care of you for a little while, okay?" The idea of someone taking care of her was so foreign that Maya didn't know how to respond. She just nodded. Cole went back to the kitchen and started cleaning up the mess from earlier. Maya could hear him washing dishes and opening cabinets. After a while, she smelled something good cooking. 20 minutes later, Cole came back with a bowl of scrambled eggs and toast cut into small pieces. "Easy to eat," he said. "And easy on your stomach." Maya took the bowl with shaking hands. The eggs were perfect, fluffy and warm and seasoned just right. She couldn't remember the last time someone had cooked for her. As she ate, Cole sat quietly nearby. He didn't try to make conversation or ask her difficult questions. He just let her eat in peace. The only sound was the storm outside and the television that David had turned up too loud. For the first time in years, Maya felt like a person instead of a problem. She felt like someone who deserved to be cared for. It was a feeling she had almost forgotten existed. Outside, the storm was starting to calm down a little. But inside that living room, something much bigger was just beginning. Maya dozed fitfully on the couch while Cole kept watch from the chair across the room. Every time she moved in her sleep, she winced from the pain in her ribs. Cole had found a blanket and tucked it around her gently, being careful not to wake her up. David had fallen asleep in his recliner around 2 a.m, snoring loudly with an empty beer bottle in his lap. Cole stayed awake all night, partly because he was worried about Maya's injuries, and partly because he didn't trust David not to try something if he fell asleep. As the sun started to come up, the storm finally began to calm down. Cole could see through the windows that there was still some rain, but the worst of it had passed. He was thinking about how to get Maya to a doctor when he heard David starting to wake up. David groaned and stretched, then seemed to remember what had happened the night before. He looked around the room until his eyes landed on Cole, still sitting in the same chair. "You're still here," David said. His voice was rough from sleep and alcohol. "Yes," Cole said simply. David looked at Maya sleeping on the couch, then back at Cole. "Well, you can leave now. Thanks for your help and all, but we're fine." "Maya needs to see a doctor," Cole said. "Maya is my wife, and I'll decide what she needs," David replied, his voice getting louder. The sound of their voices woke Maya up. She opened her eyes slowly and looked around, seeming confused for a moment about where she was. Then she saw Cole and remembered. A small smile crossed her face before she caught herself and made her expression neutral again. "How are you feeling?" Cole asked her. Maya started to sit up, then stopped as pain shot through her ribs. "Sore," she said quietly. "We need to get you to a doctor," Cole said. "Some of those ribs might be broken." David stood up from his chair. "She doesn't need a doctor. She's tough. Aren't you, honey?" The way he said honey didn't sound loving at all. Maya looked between the two men. Cole could see her trying to decide what to say, what would cause the least trouble. "I think I'm okay," she said finally. Cole could tell she was lying. She was still holding her side and her breathing was shallow. But more than that, he could see the fear in her eyes when she looked at David. "Maya," Cole said gently, "you don't have to be okay. You don't have to pretend you're not hurt." "She said she's fine," David interrupted. "So she's fine. Now I think it's time for you to leave." Cole stood up slowly. He was a full head taller than David, and in the morning light, David seemed to realize just how big the stranger in his living room really was. "You know what?" Cole said, his voice still calm but with an edge to it now. "I think Maya should decide for herself what she wants to do. She's a grown woman. She can make her own choices." "She's my wife," David said, stepping closer to Cole. "And this is my house, and I'm telling you to leave." "And I'm telling you that I'm not leaving without Maya," Cole replied. The two men stared at each other. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Maya watched from the couch, her heart pounding. You can't just take my wife, David said. I'm not taking anybody, Cole said. I'm offering Maya a choice. Something it sounds like she hasn't had in a long time. David's face was getting red with anger. You don't know anything about our marriage. You don't know anything about us. I know enough, Cole said. I know that no woman should be afraid to eat when she's hungry. I know that no woman should be afraid to speak up when she's in pain. I know that what I saw here last night was wrong. What you saw, David said, his voice rising, was none of your business. Cole looked over at Maya. She was watching them both with wide, frightened eyes. He could see her trying to make herself smaller on the couch, trying to disappear. Maya, Cole said, ignoring David completely. Do you want to come with me? Before Maya could answer, David exploded. She's not going anywhere. He moved toward Maya like he was going to grab her arm, but Cole stepped between them. David found himself face to face with Cole's chest, and he had to look up to see his eyes. I don't think you want to do that, Cole said quietly. David looked up at Cole, then down at his own hands. For the first time, he seemed to realize that Cole was not just bigger than him, but probably stronger too. And definitely not drunk. You can't threaten me in my own house, David said, but his voice had lost some of its anger. I'm not threatening you, Cole said. I'm just telling you how things are going to go. Maya is going to make her own decision about what she wants to do, and whatever she decides, you're going to respect it. And if I don't? Cole leaned down slightly so he was looking David directly in the eyes. Then you and I are going to have a much more serious conversation. David swallowed hard. He had spent years being the biggest, angriest person in the room. He was used to people backing down from him. But Cole wasn't backing down. If anything, he seemed to be getting more determined. Maya, Cole said, still looking at David, the choice is yours, but I want you to know something. He finally looked away from David and turned to face her. No one will hurt you again. Not while I'm around. That's a promise. The words hung in the air like a bell that had been rung. Maya stared at Cole, trying to process what he had just said. A promise that no one would hurt her. When was the last time someone had made her a promise and actually meant it? David started to say something, but Cole held up one hand. I wasn't talking to you, he said. Maya looked at David, then at Cole, then back at David. She could see the anger in her husband's face, but she could also see something else. Fear. For the first time in their marriage, David was afraid. Maya started to speak, then stopped. Making decisions for herself felt impossible after so many years of having every choice made for her. Take your time, Cole said. There's no rush. But David couldn't stay quiet any longer. Maya, if you leave with him, don't bother coming back. You hear me? You walk out that door and you're not welcome here anymore. Cole looked at David with disgust. You really think that's going to convince her to stay? Threatening to throw her out. I'm not threatening anything, David said. I'm just telling her how it is. Cole shook his head. You know what the sad thing is? You actually think you're the prize here. You think she should be grateful to be with someone who treats her like this. I provide for her, David said. I give her a home, food, clothes. She'd have nothing without me. She'd have her dignity, Cole said. She'd have her safety. She'd have the chance to remember who she was before you spent years trying to break her down. Maya listened to this conversation about her life, about her future, and something inside her started to wake up. It was like a small flame that had been buried under years of fear and control, suddenly getting a breath of fresh air. I want to go, she said quietly. Both men turned to look at her. I want to go, Maya said again, louder this time. David's face went white, then red. You can't be serious. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, maybe for the first time in years. She saw the man who had spent 3 years telling her she was worthless. The man who had made her afraid to speak, afraid to eat, afraid to exist. The man who had hit her so many times she had stopped counting. I'm serious, she said. Cole smiled, and it was like the sun coming out from behind clouds. Okay then, he said. Let's go. Maya tried to stand up from the couch, but her ribs protested sharply. Cole was beside her in an instant, offering his arm for support. Easy, he said. We'll take it slow. As they started toward the door, David followed them. Maya, don't do this. You'll regret it. You'll come crawling back and I might not take you back. Maya paused at the door and turned to look at him one last time. I know, she said. I'm counting on it. And with that, she walked out the door with Cole, leaving her old life behind. The drive to the hospital took 45 minutes on roads that were still wet from the storm. Cole's truck had started up fine once he got it towed to a garage in town, and Maya sat quietly in the passenger seat, watching the world go by through the window. Everything looked different somehow. The trees seemed greener, the sky seemed bigger. Maya realized she hadn't been off the farm property in almost 6 months. David had always found reasons why she couldn't go to town with him. Too busy, too expensive, too much trouble. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed what Cole had suspected. Maya had 2 cracked ribs and severe bruising. The cut on her lip needed 3 small stitches. While the nurse was cleaning her other cuts, she asked Maya quietly if she was safe at home. Maya looked at Cole, who was sitting in a chair across the room, giving her space but staying close enough that she could see him. "I think so," she said. "I think I'm going to be okay now." The nurse nodded and handed Maya a small card. "Just in case," she said. "There are people who can help." After they left the hospital, Cole drove toward the edge of town, then turned onto a dirt road that led up into the hills. Maya was starting to wonder where they were going when she saw a wooden sign. Healing Hearts Ranch, a place of hope. The ranch was beautiful. It sat in a valley surrounded by rolling hills with a big white farmhouse, several smaller cabins, and pastures where horses grazed peacefully. There were women working in a garden, and Maya could hear laughter coming from somewhere nearby. "What is this place?" Maya asked. "It's run by a friend of mine," Cole said. "Her name is Rosa. She helps women who need a safe place to stay for a while." A woman came out of the farmhouse as they pulled up. She was probably in her 50s with graying hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She hugged Cole like he was family. "Cole, what brings you here?" she asked. Then she noticed Maya getting carefully out of the truck, and her expression changed to one of gentle concern. "Rosa, this is Maya," Cole said. "She needs help." Rosa looked at Maya for a moment, taking in the stitches on her lip and the careful way she was moving. She had seen enough women in Maya's situation to understand immediately. "Of course," Rosa said. "Maya, welcome to Healing Hearts. I'm Rosa, and I'm very glad you're here." Maya didn't know what to say. She had expected questions, paperwork, judgment. Instead, this stranger was welcoming her like she belonged here. "Come on," Rosa said. "Let me show you around." The tour started with the main house, which had a big kitchen where several women were preparing lunch together. They looked up and smiled when Rosa introduced Maya, but no one stared or asked uncomfortable questions. Maya realized that most of these women probably had their own stories about why they were here. "We have 12 women staying here right now," Rosa explained as they walked. "Some stay for a few weeks, some for a few months. However long they need to figure out their next steps." They visited the small cabins where the women lived. Each one was simple but comfortable, with a bed, a small sitting area, and a tiny kitchen. Maya had never had a space that was entirely her own. "Would you like to stay here?" Rosa asked gently. "You don't have to decide right now. You can think about it." Maya looked around at the peaceful ranch, at the women working in the garden and taking care of the horses. For the first time in years, she felt like she could breathe. "Yes," she said, "if that's okay." "It's more than okay," Rosa said. "It's what we're here for." Rosa showed Maya to a cabin at the end of the row with a view of the pasture where several horses were grazing. "This one is yours for as long as you need it," she said. Inside, the cabin was clean and bright, with yellow curtains on the windows and a colorful quilt on the bed. There was a small kitchenette, a comfortable chair by the window, and best of all, a lock on the door that only Maya would have the key to. "I don't have any money," Maya said suddenly. "I can't pay for this," Rosa smiled. "Healing Hearts is funded by donations and grants. The only thing we ask is that when you're ready, you help out around the ranch. Everyone contributes what they can, when they can." "I don't know how to do much," Maya said. "David never let me work or learn anything useful." "Everyone knows how to do something," Rosa said. "And everyone can learn new things. That's part of what we do here. Help women remember who they were before and figure out who they want to be next." Cole had been quietly carrying Maya's few belongings into the cabin. David had thrown together a bag of her clothes when they left, mostly old things that were too big for her now. Looking at the small pile of possessions, Maya realized how little she had to show for 3 years of marriage. "I should probably get going," Cole said. "Let you get settled in." Maya felt a moment of panic. Cole was the only person she knew here. the only person who had stood up for her. What if he left and never came back? "Will I see you again?" she asked, trying not to sound as desperate as she felt. Cole smiled. "If you want to. I'll be working at the Henderson Ranch about 20 miles from here for the next few months. I could come visit sometime if that would be all right." "I'd like that," Maya said. After Cole left, Rosa helped Maya unpack her few things. Then she took her to meet some of the other women. There was Linda, who had arrived 6 months ago and now helped manage the ranch's finances. There was Carmen, who was learning to train horses. There was Beth, who was taking online classes to become a teacher. Each woman had her own story, but they all had one thing in common. They had found the courage to leave situations that were hurting them. And they had found their way here, to this place where they could heal and rebuild. That evening, Maya ate dinner with the other women in the main house. The food was simple but delicious, and the conversation was lively. No one asked Maya about her past or pressured her to share her story. They just included her, made her feel welcome. After dinner, Maya walked back to her cabin as the sun was setting. The hills around the ranch were painted in shades of gold and pink, and she could hear horses nickering softly in the pasture. For the first time in years, Maya felt safe enough to think about the future. She thought about the woman she used to be before David. She had been happy once, confident, full of dreams. She had wanted to open a bakery, to travel, to maybe have children someday. All of those dreams had been pushed down and buried, but maybe they weren't gone forever. Maya unlocked the door to her cabin and stepped inside. Her cabin, her space, her choice. She sat down in the chair by the window and looked out at the peaceful ranch. Tomorrow she would start figuring out who she wanted to be. Tonight, for the first time in 3 years, she would sleep without being afraid. As she got ready for bed, Maya found herself thinking about what Cole had promised her. No one will hurt you again. She was starting to believe it might actually be true. The woman who had been broken down and afraid was still there inside her. But she was also discovering that there was another woman there too, one who was stronger than she had remembered. One who deserved kindness and safety and the chance to dream again. Maya fell asleep that night with a small smile on her face, already planning what she might do tomorrow. 3 weeks had passed since Maya arrived at Healing Hearts Ranch, and she was slowly beginning to feel like herself again. Her ribs had healed, and the cut on her lip was just a thin pink line now, but the deeper healing was taking longer. Every Tuesday and Thursday, a counselor named Dr. Martinez came to the ranch. She met with the women individually and also held group sessions. At first, Maya had been terrified of these meetings. She had never talked to anyone about what her marriage had really been like. "You don't have to tell me everything at once," Dr. Martinez had said during their first session. "We can go as slow as you need to go." Slowly, Maya began to share pieces of her story. She talked about how David had gradually isolated her from her friends and family, how he had convinced her that she was lucky to have him, that no one else would ever want her, how he had made her believe that the violence was her fault. None of that was true, Dr. Martinez told her. "You know that now, right?" Maya nodded, but some days she still had trouble believing it. 3 years of being told you're worthless doesn't disappear overnight. In the group sessions, Maya met women who had survived things that made her own experience seem almost mild. There was Patricia, whose husband had kept her locked in the house for 2 years. There was Kim, who had been married to a man who threatened to kill her pets if she ever tried to leave. Listening to their stories made Maya realize she wasn't alone. It also made her grateful for Cole's intervention. Who knows what might have happened if he hadn't showed up that stormy night. Rosa had assigned Maya to work with the horses, thinking it might help her healing process. At first, Maya was afraid of the large animals, but Linda, who had been working with them for months, taught her how to approach them. "Horses are like people who've been hurt," Linda explained. "They can sense fear, but they can also sense kindness. If you're patient and gentle, they'll trust you." Maya started by just brushing the horses and cleaning their stalls. There was something peaceful about the routine, the simple tasks that needed to be done every day. The horses didn't judge her or ask her difficult questions. They just accepted her presence. Her favorite was a mare named Buttercup who had been rescued from a neglectful owner. Buttercup was skittish and didn't like to be touched at first, but gradually she began to trust Maya. The day the horse finally let Maya pet her nose was the day Maya cried for the first time since arriving at the ranch. "It's okay to cry," Rosa had told her. Sometimes we need to let out all the sadness before we can make room for happiness. Cole had kept his promise to visit. He came by every Saturday afternoon, always bringing something. Fresh vegetables from the Henderson Ranch, books from the library in town, or sometimes just his own company. Maya looked forward to these visits more than she wanted to admit. Cole never pushed her to talk about the future or make decisions she wasn't ready to make. Instead, he told her about his work, about the places he had traveled, about his own dreams of maybe settling down somewhere and starting his own ranch someday. "Do you ever get lonely?" Maya asked him one Saturday as they sat on the porch of her cabin watching the sunset. "Sometimes," Cole admitted, "but I've learned that being alone isn't the same thing as being lonely. And being with the wrong person can be lonelier than being by yourself." Maya knew exactly what he meant. She had been desperately lonely throughout her marriage, even though David was always there. "What about you?" Cole asked. "What do you want to do when you're ready to leave here?" Maya had been thinking about that question a lot lately. For the first time in years, she was allowed to want things for herself. The idea was both exciting and terrifying. "I used to want to open a bakery," she said. "Before I met David, I was saving money to take some business classes and learn how to run a small business. What happened to that dream?" David said it was stupid. He said I'd never be smart enough to run a business, that I'd just lose all our money and embarrass myself. Cole was quiet for a moment. "Do you still want to do it?" Maya considered the question. Did she still want to bake for people? To create something that made them happy? "Yes," she said. "I think I do." "Then you should do it," Cole said simply. "But I don't know anything about running a business. I don't have any money. I don't even know if I'm good enough at baking." "Those are all problems that can be solved," Cole said. "The only real question is whether you want it enough to work for it." Dr. Martinez had been encouraging Maya to think about practical matters too. She had helped her open her own bank account and apply for a copy of her birth certificate. Small steps toward independence that felt huge to Maya. "You need to build your own life," Dr. Martinez had explained. "Not just get away from your old life, but create something new that belongs completely to you." Maya had also started taking online classes through the local community college. Rosa had shown her how to use the computer in the ranch's office, and Maya was slowly working toward her GED. She had dropped out of high school to get married, something she had regretted ever since. Learning again felt wonderful. Maya discovered she was actually pretty smart when she wasn't being told constantly that she was stupid. She was especially good at math, which excited her because she knew that would be important if she ever did try to start a business. One evening, Maya was in the kitchen of the main house helping Carmen prepare dinner for everyone. Maya had been experimenting with baking, making simple cookies and muffins for the other women. Everyone always said they were delicious, but Maya wasn't sure if they were just being nice. "You know," Carmen said as she watched Maya knead bread dough, "you're really good at this." "Like really good?" "This bread is better than anything I could buy in town." "Do you really think so?" Maya asked. "I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it," Carmen replied. "You should think about selling your baked goods somewhere. I bet people would love them." The idea had occurred to Maya too, but she hadn't dared to take it seriously. Could she really make money doing something she loved? Could she actually support herself? That night, Maya called her sister Lisa for the first time since leaving David. Lisa lived 3 states away, and they had lost touch during Maya's marriage. David had convinced Maya that her family didn't really care about her. "Maya," Lisa's voice was full of joy and relief. "I've been so worried about you. When you stopped returning my calls, I didn't know what to think." Maya explained what had happened, though she left out the worst details. Lisa listened without judgment, just expressing relief that Maya was safe now. "I always knew something was wrong," Lisa said, "but you seemed so convinced that you were happy. I didn't know how to help you." "I wasn't ready to be helped then," Maya said, "but I am now." As Maya talked to her sister, she realized how much she had missed having family in her life. David had made her believe that he was all she needed, but that had never been true. After the phone call, Maya sat in her cabin and made a list of things she wanted to do. Learn more about baking and business. Finish her GED. Maybe take some college classes. Reconnect with old friends. Visit her sister. For the first time since arriving at the ranch, Maya was thinking beyond just healing from her past. She was starting to plan for her future, and for the first time in years, that future looked bright. Looking out her window at the peaceful ranch, Maya felt a deep sense of gratitude. Not just for Rosa and the other women who had welcomed her, or for Dr. Martinez who was helping her heal, or even for Cole who had saved her life. She felt grateful to herself for finding the courage to leave, for choosing to believe that she deserved better, for deciding to build something new instead of just surviving something terrible. Maya was learning that healing wasn't just about getting over what had happened to her. It was about becoming the person she was always meant to be. 6 months had passed since Maya arrived at Healing Hearts Ranch, and she had grown stronger every day. She was halfway through her GED classes and had started selling her baked goods at the farmer's market in town. The small income she was earning gave her a sense of pride she had forgotten was possible. Cole had become a regular part of her life, visiting every weekend and sometimes during the week when his work schedule allowed. Their friendship had deepened into something more, though both of them were taking things slowly. Maya was still learning to trust again, and Cole respected her need for time and space. Maya was in the kitchen of the main house, preparing a batch of cinnamon rolls for the farmer's market, when Rosa came in with a worried expression on her face. "Maya, there's someone here to see you," Rosa said carefully. Maya looked up from her mixing bowl. "Who is it?" "It's David. He's in the driveway and he says he's not leaving until he talks to you." Maya's hands began to shake and she had to set down her spoon. She had known this day might come, but she had hoped David would eventually give up and leave her alone. Through her lawyer, she had filed for divorce 3 months ago, but David had been fighting it every step of the way. "Do I have to talk to him?" Maya asked. "No," Rosa said firmly. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I can call the sheriff and have him removed from the property." Maya took a deep breath. Part of her wanted to hide in her cabin until David went away, but another part of her, the stronger part that had been growing over the past 6 months, knew she needed to face this. "No," Maya said. "I'll talk to him, but I want someone with me." "Of course," Rosa said. "I'll be right there with you." "Actually," Maya said, "could you call Cole? I know he's working at the Henderson place today, but maybe he could come." Rosa nodded and went to make the call. 20 minutes later, Cole's truck pulled into the driveway. Maya watched from the window as he got out and looked at David, who was leaning against his own truck with his arms crossed. Maya could see that David looked different. He had lost weight and his clothes were wrinkled like he hadn't been taking care of himself. But there was still that familiar anger in his posture that made Maya's stomach clench with old fear. Cole walked over to Maya, and she could see the concern in his eyes. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked. "I'm sure," Maya said, though her voice was shaking a little. "I need to do this." They walked out to the driveway together, with Rosa following close behind. David straightened up when he saw them approaching. "Maya," David said, and his voice was different too, softer than she remembered. "You look good." Maya stood between Cole and Rosa, drawing strength from their presence. "What do you want, David?" "I want you to come home," David said. "I've been thinking a lot these past few months, and I know I made mistakes. But we can work this out. We can go to counseling or whatever you want." Maya felt a familiar pull, the old habit of wanting to believe him, wanting to think that maybe this time would be different. But 6 months of healing had taught her to recognize manipulation when she heard it. "I am home," Maya said. "This is where I belong now." David's face darkened a little. "This isn't your home, Maya. This is some kind of charity case place. You're my wife. Your home is with me." "No," Maya said, and her voice was stronger now. "I'm not your wife anymore. I filed for divorce, and when it's final, we won't have any connection to each other. You can't just throw away 3 years of marriage," David said. "For what? For him?" He looked at Cole with disgust. "I'm not throwing anything away," Maya said. "I'm saving myself." David took a step closer, and Maya instinctively moved back. But Cole stepped forward, placing himself between Maya and David. "That's close enough," Cole said quietly. "This is between me and my wife," David said. "No," Cole replied. "This is between you and someone who's asked you to leave her alone, and I'm here to make sure that happens." David looked from Cole to Maya and back to Cole. "So that's how it is? You've been poisoning her mind against me?" "Nobody had to poison anything," Maya said, finding her voice again. "You did that all by yourself." "Maya, please," David said. And now his voice had a pleading quality that she remembered from the days after his worst outbursts. "I love you. I know I have problems, but I can change. I've been going to anger management classes." Maya felt a pang of something. Not love, but maybe sadness for the man he could have been if he had gotten help years ago. "I'm glad you're getting help," she said. "But it's too late for us." "It's not too late," David insisted. "We made vows, Maya, for better or worse, in sickness and in health. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "Those vows were supposed to protect me," Maya said. "But you broke them every time you hurt me. Every time you made me afraid. Every time you told me I was worthless." "I never said you were worthless," David protested. Maya stared at him in disbelief. Even now, even after all this time, he couldn't admit the truth about what he had done. "You said it almost every day for 3 years." "I was frustrated," David said. "I was under a lot of stress." "I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did," Maya said. "And even if you didn't, it doesn't matter. The damage was done. I spent 3 years believing I was nothing, and it's taken me 6 months to remember that I'm actually worth something." David's expression was getting angrier. The fake softness was starting to slip away, revealing the man Maya remembered. "So what, you're just going to live here forever? Playing house with these broken women?" "These women aren't broken," Maya said. "They're healing, just like I am." "And what about him?" David jerked his head toward Cole. "You think he actually cares about you? You think he's going to stick around when he gets tired of your problems?" Maya felt Cole tense beside her, but he didn't say anything. This was her confrontation, and he was letting her handle it. "Cole is my friend," Maya said. "And even if he wasn't in my life at all, I still wouldn't come back to you. This isn't about Cole. This is about me choosing to be safe and happy instead of scared and miserable." "You were happy with me," David said desperately. "Remember when we first got married? We were happy then." Maya did remember those early days before the isolation and control and violence, but she also understood now that even then David had been laying the groundwork for what came later. "I was happy because I didn't know who you really were yet," Maya said. "But now I do. And I also know who I really am. I'm not the broken, scared woman you tried to turn me into. I'm strong and I'm smart and I deserve to be treated with respect." David stared at her for a long moment. Maya could see him struggling, maybe realizing for the first time that his old tactics weren't going to work anymore. "If you walk away from this marriage," David said finally, "you'll have nothing. No home, no money, no security. You'll end up alone and poor, and you'll realize what a mistake you made." Maya almost smiled. A few months ago, those words would have terrified her. Now they just sounded pathetic. "I'd rather be alone and poor than married and afraid," she said. "Besides, I'm not alone. I have friends who actually care about me. I have work that I enjoy. I have a future that I'm building for myself." "This is ridiculous," David said, his voice rising. "You're my wife, and you're coming home with me." He stepped toward Maya again, and this time his movement was aggressive enough that Cole moved to block him completely. "I think it's time for you to leave," Cole said. "You can't make me leave," David said. "Actually, I can," Rosa spoke up. "This is private property and you're not welcome here. If you don't leave voluntarily, I'll call the sheriff and have you arrested for trespassing." David looked around at the three of them, and Maya could see him realizing that he had no power here. At home, he had been able to control her through fear and isolation. But here, surrounded by people who supported her, he was just another angry man making empty threats. "Fine," David said, "but this isn't over, Maya. You're still my wife and I'm not giving up." "Yes, you are," Maya said calmly. "You're going to sign the divorce papers and you're going to leave me alone. And if you don't, I'll get a restraining order." David got in his truck and slammed the door. As he drove away, Maya felt something she hadn't expected. Relief, but also a kind of sadness. Not sadness for losing David, but sadness for the woman she used to be, who would have gotten in that truck and gone back to a life that was slowly killing her. "Are you okay?" Cole asked. Maya nodded. "I'm more than okay. I'm free." Standing there in the driveway of the ranch that had become her sanctuary, surrounded by people who cared about her safety and happiness, Maya realized that she had finally become the woman she was always meant to be, strong enough to stand up for herself, brave enough to choose her own path, smart enough to recognize her own worth. David's visit had been meant to intimidate her into coming back. Instead, it had shown her just how far she had come. 1 year later, Maya stood in the kitchen of the old farmhouse where her nightmare had begun. But everything was different now. The walls that had once echoed with shouting and fear were now painted a cheerful yellow. The kitchen where she had been hurt so badly was filled with the warm smell of fresh bread and the sound of women's laughter. After David signed the divorce papers 6 months ago, Maya had discovered that the farmhouse was actually in her name too. Her lawyer had helped her claim her half of the property, and David had been forced to sell his share to her for far less than it was worth. He needed the money for his legal fees and had moved to another state, finally leaving Maya alone. Instead of selling the house, Maya had decided to transform it into something beautiful. Working with Rosa, she had turned it into a satellite location for Healing Hearts Ranch, a place where women could stay for shorter periods while they figured out their next steps. The irony wasn't lost on any of them. The house where Maya had been trapped and terrorized was now a place of freedom and healing for other women. "Maya, the new resident, is here," called Carmen, who now worked as the house coordinator. Maya wiped her hands on her apron and went to greet the newest arrival. Her name was Jennifer, and she looked exactly like Maya had a year ago, scared, hurt, and not sure if she could trust anyone. "Hi, Jennifer," Maya said gently. "I'm Maya. Welcome to Hope House." They had decided to call the farmhouse Hope House, because that's what it represented, hope for a better future. Maya showed Jennifer around, pointing out the safety features they had installed, the comfortable bedrooms, and the big kitchen where everyone cooked together. "Is it really free?" Jennifer asked quietly. "It's really free," Maya confirmed. "The only thing we ask is that you help out with chores and cooking when you're feeling up to it, and that you work with our counselor to help you figure out what you want to do next." Maya remembered asking Rosa the same question a year ago. It was hard to believe that kindness could exist without strings attached when you'd lived for so long with conditional love and constant threats. After getting Jennifer settled in, Maya walked out to the front porch where Cole was fixing a loose board on the steps. He had moved to a ranch closer to town 6 months ago, so he could help more with Hope House and spend more time with Maya. Their relationship had grown slowly and carefully, built on friendship and respect rather than need or desperation. Cole had never tried to rush Maya or push her into anything she wasn't ready for. He had simply been there, steady and patient, while she learned to trust again. "How's our new resident?" Cole asked, looking up from his work. "Scared but hopeful," Maya said. "Just like I was." Cole smiled. Maya loved his smile. It was warm and genuine, never hiding anything darker underneath. "She's in good hands." Maya sat down on the porch swing that Cole had built for her last month. From here, she could see the garden where the women grew vegetables for their meals, and the small barn where they kept chickens for fresh eggs. It was a peaceful, productive place. "I got a call from the bank today," Maya said. "They approved the loan for the bakery." Cole's face lit up. "Maya, that's wonderful. Are you excited?" "I'm terrified," Maya admitted. "But also excited. I can't believe I'm actually going to do this." Maya's baking business had grown from selling at the farmer's market to supplying several restaurants in town. Now she was ready to open her own bakery in a small storefront on Main Street. It would be the first business she had ever owned, the first time she had been completely financially independent. "You're going to be amazing," Cole said. "You're the strongest person I know." "I wasn't always strong," Maya said. "Yes, you were," Cole replied. "You just didn't know it yet. The strength was always there. You just needed the right circumstances to let it out." That evening, Maya cooked dinner for everyone at Hope House. Herself, Jennifer, 2 other women who were staying there temporarily, Carmen and Cole. It had become a tradition, sharing meals together around the big kitchen table. As they ate, Maya listened to the conversation flowing around her. Jennifer was quiet, still getting used to being in a place where she could speak without fear. But the other women were talking about their plans. One was starting nursing school, another had gotten a job at the local library. After dinner, Maya walked out to the garden behind the house. This was where David used to store his tools, but Maya had transformed it into a vegetable garden and a small herb patch for her baking. She had planted flowers, too, bright colors that made the whole yard feel cheerful. Cole found her there, sitting on the bench they had placed among the tomato plants. "Penny for your thoughts," he said, sitting down beside her. "I was just thinking about how different everything is now," Maya said. "A year ago I thought my life was over. I thought I would never be happy or safe or independent, and now..." And now you're helping other women realize the same thing about their own lives, Cole finished. Maya nodded. It's strange how something so terrible can lead to something so good. I mean, I would never want to go through that again, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But if it hadn't happened, I never would have ended up here. I never would have found out who I really was. You would have found your way eventually, Cole said. Maybe it would have taken longer. Maybe it would have happened differently, but you're too strong to stay buried forever. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars come out overhead. Maya felt peaceful in a way she had never experienced before. Not just the absence of fear, but the presence of genuine contentment. Cole, Maya said eventually. Yeah? Thank you. For that night in the storm, for not leaving me there, for keeping your promise that no one would hurt me again. Cole reached over and took her hand. You saved yourself, Maya. I just happened to be there at the right time. Maybe, Maya said, but I'm still grateful. Maya's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from her sister Lisa, who was planning to visit next month for the grand opening of the bakery. Her relationship with her family had been slowly rebuilding over the past year, and it felt good to have them back in her life. Another text came in, this one from Rosa at the main ranch. A new woman needed help, and they were wondering if Hope House had room for her. Maya texted back that they did. Another new resident coming tomorrow, Maya told Cole. Good, he said. That's what this place is for. Maya looked back at the farmhouse, now glowing with warm light from all the windows. Inside, women who had been broken down by violence and control were learning to rebuild their lives. Tomorrow, another woman would start that same journey. It wasn't always easy. Some days Maya still struggled with anxiety and self-doubt. Some of the women who came to Hope House weren't ready to change their lives yet and went back to dangerous situations. But overall, the work felt meaningful in a way that nothing in Maya's previous life ever had. I love you, Cole said quietly. Maya turned to look at him. He had said it before, and each time it still surprised her a little. Not because she didn't believe him, but because she was still amazed that someone could love her for who she really was, not for who they wanted her to be. I love you too, she said. As they walked back to the house together, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The woman who had been too afraid to speak up for herself had become someone who spent her days helping other women find their voices. The woman who had been told she was worthless had built a business and a life that gave her pride and purpose. Most importantly, the woman who had been convinced that she deserved to be hurt had learned that everyone deserves to be safe, respected, and loved. Looking up at the stars over Hope House, Maya made a silent promise to the women who would come here in the future. The same promise that Cole had made to her that stormy night a year ago. No one will hurt you again. Not if I can help it. And in that moment, Maya knew that she had found her true purpose in life. The next morning, Maya woke up early to prepare for the new residents' arrival. She made a special breakfast, blueberry pancakes with fresh berries from the garden. She remembered how much that simple meal Cole had made for her had meant during her first night of freedom. When Jennifer came downstairs, she looked a little better than she had the day before. She had slept through the night without nightmares, which was always a good sign. How are you feeling? Maya asked as she served Jennifer a plate of pancakes. Different, Jennifer said thoughtfully. Like, maybe things really can get better. They can, Maya assured her. It takes time and some days are harder than others, but they absolutely can get better. As Jennifer ate, Maya told her about the resources available: counseling, job training programs, legal aid, and most importantly, a community of women who understood what she was going through. Did you ever think you'd end up helping other people like this? Jennifer asked. Maya considered the question. No, never. A year ago, I couldn't even help myself. But I guess that's the thing about healing. Once you start to get better, you naturally want to help others do the same thing. Around noon, the new resident arrived. Her name was Rebecca, and she had 2 young children with her. Maya's heart ached seeing the way the little ones stayed close to their mother, their eyes wide and watchful. We have a family room, Maya told Rebecca as she showed her around.